Hello and welcome to another AIC video. I'll admit that it has been kind of difficult to write this review, not because this ThinkPad P14s Gen 6 AMD isn't good, and not because I don't like it, but because there's nothing really surprising or industry changing in this system. Real quick on the specs, we do have a Ryzen AI 7 Pro 350 with its Radeon 860M. Has 64 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, and the 2.8K OLED display, which we'll talk about later for sure. Starting off with some of the good things, the keyboard is exactly what you would expect from Lenovo. It is an excellent keyboard, and probably one of the biggest reasons why I continue to buy ThinkPads for myself and recommend them to others. There just isn't a replacement for a ThinkPad keyboard. The last Dell I got, the keys were very inconsistent, and that caused me to have a lot of typing errors, which is extremely frustrating, especially when I type for work so much. And having to constantly go back and correct mistakes due to the keyboard and the way it felt was really unacceptable. This screen is downright amazing. It is an OLED display. 500 nit touch, all the good things, and I really like it. The color accuracy and color depth, everything is fantastic. I always have liked OLED screens except for one thing: the high reflectiveness of them. I haven't had one, or this is my first one I've had, that does not have an overly reflective screen, and you can tell that by, if I get some lights on there, there is some reflectiveness, but it does have an anti-glare on here, which I appreciate because it doesn't mean that I am distracted by staring at myself at the screen. So definitely a gorgeous screen. The anti-reflectiveness is working on here, and I do like it a lot. Now, if you've liked the last few T/P series 14-inch laptops, you're going to like this one too. Very little has changed in build quality or features. One upgrade from previous generations is it does have 2 RAM slots. The storage remains upgradable. This keyboard is easily replaceable, but that's really about it. Wi-Fi is soldered, so are the USB-C charging ports. Now, with the new P1 Gen 8/T1G that have replaceable ports, I was hoping that that would filter into other products, but it looks like we may have to wait for another generation for that. But I'm not going to hold my breath. We still have an RJ45, but it is just gigabit. I would have liked to have seen this be a 2.5 gig port. I see more and more stuff going to 2.5 gig. We do have plenty of USB-A and USB-C ports, as well as an HDMI and a headphone microphone jack. So sufficient ports, I think, for most people. The performance is there. Again, this is an AMD model with integrated graphics, but as far as gaming goes, we're still able to get 30 FPS in Shadow of the Tomb Raider on very low settings at native resolution. If we drop the resolution, we do get over 60 frames per second. In Cyberpunk at native resolution, we're getting about 25 to 29 frames per second, but with, again, the resolution dropped to 1920 by 1200, we're getting, as you can see, about 45 to 51 frames per second, which is really good in this game, which is pretty demanding. Now, the settings, again, are on low, but as far as casual gaming goes, definitely something that I think would be very playable for most people. Even in Fortnite, we can play without any stuttering or jerking, and so I would not buy this game for professional gaming, but if you just want some casual gaming, I definitely think that this laptop with its integrated graphics is more than sufficient for most. As far as the CPU, I was able to get Handbrake to encode the same 20-minute 4K video that I've done in other reviews. It took about 9 minutes, which is only about a minute slower than my P1 with its Core Ultra 9. And with a Cinebench score of just over 14,000, not really a slouch. I would say that battery life on this, I do have it running Cinebench on battery, so it's not going to get a very good score. But it is pretty average with 6 to 8 hours, depending on what you're doing. Pretty decent for a daily use, typical office on a single charge. If you have a charged laptop in the morning, unless you're doing pretty CPU intensive stuff, and if you're not willing to dim the screen brightness a little bit, you're going to be able to last the whole day. If you are running more CPU intensive stuff, or if you want full screen brightness, you may have to plug in at lunchtime to be able to finish a full day. So as much as I've liked this laptop, as I've used it the last couple of weeks, everything is not perfect. When I was mentioning the ports, I did not mention an SD card reader. This does not have one. And I know for most people, unless you're into like big digital photography or something like that, you're probably not going to miss that. But I am doing a lot with my 3D printer, and so that means copying files to an SD card to then print on the printer, and that means I can't use this without using an adapter, which neither here nor there, but it is something that I would like to do without having to use an adapter. So if this was my system, that would be something I would miss. And can Lenovo get whoever designed the sound on the P1 Gen 7 to give their blessing on the rest of the lineup? These speakers are less than impressive. They're not the worst, and they're better than speakers from Lenovo were 10 years ago, but so is a couple of tin cans and a string. They're adequate, but they are not going to win any awards, and you're not going to be excited to watch a movie with them. So if you're an audiophile that likes to really enjoy hearing a full sound stage, or a gamer that needs to hear that gunshot behind you, these just aren't it. You'll want headphones or some other audio system. So that's really my list of complaints. A lack of SD card reader, less than great sound quality of speakers, and still some soldered components. I think the first one comes down to your workflow. If you never touch SD cards, then you probably will never miss it. The speakers are easily fixed with a set of headphones or external speakers. Having a soldered USB-C charging port and a soldered Wi-Fi adapter, even if it is Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4, those standards will change over time. That will mean having to use a USB adapter to be able to use newer technologies. It is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but they all are, at least for me. That's why I put a skin on mine. Like I said, the time I've spent with this laptop has been pretty good. I'll say that I've been spoiled by my P1. This does not convince me to give that up just yet. But if it was the laptop I was given at work, I'd be pretty darn happy about it, especially compared to what I've received in the past. Anyways, if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, please leave those down in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to answer. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.